welcome to another summer transfers video. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting pretty hyped up about all of the transfer rumours and stuff that's going around at the moment, so I thought I would make a video today of a dream transfer for every single Premier League club, all 20 of them. We're going to cover them all. They're not all totally realistic, but they're all something that I think each team needs. Hope you're going to enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, because this is a new channel. Also, thank you for 1,000 subscribers. That's awesome. But yeah, without further ado, guys, let's just go through every Premier League team in alphabetical order, one transfer for each club. Who are they going to get? Okay, for Arsenal, I'm going to go for Lisandro Martinez. I know you guys are probably going to want me to say Rafinha, but to me, Rafinha just seems like a real luxury transfer. They've already got Saka, Martinelli, Emil Smith-Rowe. Jesus can fill in there. The new man, Vieira, he can fit in there as well. And I haven't even mentioned Nicolas Pepe yet. So Rafinha is not needed. Martinez, however, is a player who is exactly what Arsenal need, and that is a versatile player. The Ajax man can play at centre-back, left-back, and CDM, which I think is going to be so crucial, because if there's injuries to Kieran Tierney, it happens all the time for Arsenal. If there's an injury for Thomas Partey, or they just need extra to, two central defensive midfielders in there. Then you've got Martinez in there and you've got a second central defensive midfielder, I suppose. But it's not only that, he's a good enough player that he actually should start enough games for Arsenal. He should probably start most games for Arsenal. So you've improved the squad, you've got cover in multiple positions, and you've improved the starting 11 as well. For Aston Villa, we're going to go for Otavio. Villa are actually pretty hard because they've actually got a fairly complete squad at the moment, especially when you add in the new transfers that have come into the team. They've bought Coutinho on a permanent, Kamara at CDM, they've got Diego Carlos at centre-back now as well. They've arguably already done their business, but if they were to get another player, I would suggest maybe a right winger to compete or replace Buendia. So Otavio has absolutely thrived as a creative kind of winger in the Portuguese league for years and years now. Really highly rated, and I think he could provide more chances, more creativity for some of the other guys, Watkins, Ings, to score some goals. All right, for Bournemouth, we're going Nat Phillips. I know it's a very, very boring one, but Bournemouth really need a centre-back. Gary Cahill is, probably too old by this point. Didn't really play in the second half of last season in the Championship. Chris Metham, a little bit out of favour as well. And Nat Phillips came in to play alongside Lloyd Kelly, who is fantastic, by the way. And he did really well on loan from Liverpool. But now he has gone back to Liverpool. He needs that permanent move. Now, Nat Phillips is 25, so he's not really at an age where he's going to be happy to sit in the reserves for Liverpool at this point. Liverpool have got loads of centre-backs, so they're not going to require him at all. He's got Premier League experience. I remember him playing really, really well in the 2020-21 season when Liverpool were kind of struggling, had some injury problems in defence. So I just think it makes sense for everyone. I think it could be a really good signing. Brentford, we're going to go boring again. We're going to go for Christian Eriksen. I just think he improved Brentford so much when he signed for that 6-month deal in January. He just improved and provided that creativity that Brentford really needed, because before, Tony was having to drop in and create the chances when he was primarily their, the goal scorer that got them into the Premier League in the first place, and he wasn't able to score as many goals. But Eriksen came in, freed up Tony to do what he does best, which is score goals. And Eriksen also provides a lot from set pieces. He takes those corners, he takes those indirect free kicks, which is somewhere where Brentford really thrive. They've got a lot of big men that like to score goals from these set pieces. So yeah, a really good fit. Will just massively improve Brentford, as it already has done, and can give them a much better season this year than they did have last year. If their whole season was like the second half of last season, then they will have a really, really good finish this year. Brighton, I'm going to go for Ryan Sessegnon. This one's a little bit of fun. So with Marc Cucurella looking likely to move to Man City, Brighton are going to need a left wing back, basically. I know people will be saying, oh, what about a goal scorer? They need a goal scorer. Well, yeah, we've got Dennis Undav, though, who is going to come back from loan from the Belgian League and come back to Brighton. He scored a boatload of goals in the Belgian League last year, so I'm thinking maybe that's going to be the solution to the goal scoring problem. Fingers crossed for Brighton fans. But I think Sessegnon could be a good one, because his creative numbers last season in particular could provide those chances, provide that creativity that is going to be helpful and indicative of Undav getting the goal. Now, Sessegnon's not going to have good amount of game time at Spurs now. Perisic has just come to the club. Perisic is likely to be playing in that left wing position. Reguilon is still at the club as well at Spurs. Sessegnon is just going to be really, really limited in terms of game time, and he needs game time. Kulusevski, Spurs are talking about buying right wingers. If Kulusevski is then displaced, maybe Kulusevski can move into the left wing back position as well. He kind of can can play there as well. So there's so many different options for Spurs at the moment, which kind of leaves Sessegnon a little bit in the mud. Now, the only problem is that I think Conte likes Sessegnon, so in that case, maybe that's going to mean that it's going to be a loan rather than a permanent signing, but I don't know. Could be a really good signing for Brighton, whether that's permanent or a loan. Chelsea, this one's pretty easy, so I've gone for a Ligt for this one. Koundé is looking like less and less likely by the minute, but Chelsea do still seriously need a centre-back to replace Rudiger, who's left for Real Madrid. Rudiger, obviously one of the best players for Chelsea, not just last season, but for the last few seasons, so he's going to be a huge miss, and they do need to replace him. Ligt, top quality centre-back, still very young at 22 years old, but brings that experience as well that he has from playing at the highest level. He is a leader as well, and maybe Ligt would quite like to come in and learn from Thiago Silva, the more experienced man next to him, playing as a defensive 2. Chelsea potentially playing with a 2 next year as well, so that could be kind of interesting, I think. And I think Chelsea fans would be happy with Ligt. I think Ligt would be pretty happy to move to Chelsea, move to the Premier League as well, so yeah, could work. Right, for Crystal Palace, we're going to go for Cheick Doucouré, who is a 22-year-old central defensive midfielder who plays for Lens in Ligue 1. He is a little bit of a FIFA career mode legend, I suppose, because he was always like a young defensive midfielder with bags of potential. He still pretty much is that. He's a player that is constantly, people say, this is a player that I want my club to sign in the defensive midfield position, because there's a hard position to fill, and I think he can do it. He is a very highly rated player, and I think he fits the project at Crystal Palace quite nicely, working under Vieira, obviously. They're trying to bring in some young players, build for the future, build this really good Crystal Palace team, and it's starting to work. And obviously, we are going to need a little bit of a defensive acumen in midfield to free up the likes of Elise, Eze, Zaha, their creativity, and allow them to thrive. You need that full guy, I suppose, to do the defensive work, and I think Doucouré could be the man for the job. Right, Everton, we're going to go for Conor Gallagher. Chelsea fans are going to hate me so much for this one, I know it already. Obviously, a centre-back is probably top priority for Everton, but Tarkowski looks pretty wrapped up by this point. But Everton also need a good central midfielder. I know Harry Winks has been spoken about, but I'm not sure Harry Winks brings enough. I think Everton more likely need a player who can not only pass and create, but also score goals and bring goals as well, particularly if players like Richarlison might be leaving the club. The goals need to be replaced somewhere, and I don't think Harry Winks is the man to do that. It will be an ambitious signing, and I don't know if Chelsea will be totally happy to lose him. Maybe they can get a buyback in there somewhere, but I don't know. Maybe Lampard can use his Chelsea ways to get the Chelsea boy to the non-Chelsea club. Maybe it could work out. It would be a great signing for Everton, though, that's for sure. And this is what it's about, dream signings for each club, with a certain degree of realism. Fulham, Andreas Pereira. I really wanted to put Mbabu in here, who looks like that, Fulham are interested in Mbabu. I wanted to put that one in here, but I spoke to some of my friends and they said, that's not going to happen. So, okay, fine, we'll leave Mbabu, even though that really excites me from an FPL point of view and also for a FIFA 23 Ultimate Team point of view, but we'll leave that one. But yeah, we're going to go for Andreas Pereira, which might seem a little left field. If you're a Man United fan, you're probably thinking, this guy's terrible. If you're a Flamengo fan, however, and I don't imagine there's too many of you who are Flamengo fans, but if you are, you're probably thinking, wow, what a player. So Andreas Pereira obviously played for Flamengo last season on loan from Manchester United. He is a player who is a creative attacking midfielder, probably is in quite desperate need for a second chance in the Premier League. Could Fulham give them the opportunity? They're definitely, Fulham are going to need to replace Carvalho, who obviously left for Liverpool. Could Pereira be the guy to come in and sort them out in that respect? I don't know, potentially. This got a lot of promise before. Maybe he can do it. I mean, he's proven it in Brazil. Let's see. Leeds, Tyler Adams. So we've got Calvin Phillips. He's going to be leaving for Manchester City. That looks like that's pretty much done at this point. They're going to need a good defensive midfielder to come in and, cover that position. Adams is young at 23. That's a pretty good age profile. And he's also American, just like Jesse Marsch. Now, I don't know if we should automatically assume that we should pair people of the same nationality together, but it kind of seems a little bit romantic for, the best American coach in the world to be coaching arguably one of, if not the best American football player or soccer player in the world as well. They even worked together briefly at RB Leipzig, so I don't know, could kind of work. I kind of like this one. If Calvin Phillips leaves and they can replace him with Tyler Adams and make a profit on that, I think everyone is kind of happy. Leicester, I'm going to go for Nathan Collins. Leicester need a centre-back quite badly. We're going to see Soyuncu leave. We're going to see Vestergaard leave. And even before they, before they left, Leicester kind of lacked a little bit in this defense, the central defence position. Defensively in general, they had a really bad season, conceding far too many goals. It just was not quite working in central defence. So they need to do something about that. Like, even when everyone's fully fit, they still need some more players to come in. Now, Collins played very well for Burnley whenever he came into that team. He is still very young at just 21 years old. He's tall, he's dominant in the air, and he fits that profile of Leicester, of bringing in those players and turning them into superstars, which I think could happen with someone like Nathan Collins. Liverpool, Jude Bellingham. Now, this one probably is not going to happen this summer. Arguably, Liverpool have already done their business for the summer, probably. But you have to say, if they were to improve one position, it would be the central midfield position, right? Especially if they're building towards the future, you've got to consider the age of players like Henderson, Thiago. They're getting on a little bit. They need to revamp with the younger generation coming through, maybe. But if Liverpool were to make a signing, it would also have to be a world-class signing that does improve the team as well. And finding someone who's very young and also improves the team and can start games, that's kind of a difficult player to find. It's a rare player to find, so it's going to be very, very costly. But Henderson, Thiago, they're still not past it yet, nowhere near. So potentially this transfer could wait another year or two, potentially. So yeah, maybe not for right now. But if we had to say, if Liverpool had to sign one player right now, it would be Bellingham. I think Liverpool fans will probably agree with me. Who else are you really going to sign that's going to improve your team? I don't know. Other than like Mbappe, you know, it's unrealistic. Bellingham. For Man City, we're going for Marc Cucurella. They need a new fullback. Zinchenko is potentially leaving, and their other left back we probably shouldn't talk about too much. Walker is getting a little bit older. Cancelo can move back to the right back position when he's needed there. And Cucurella was just so phenomenal for Brighton last season. He played so well. He's a Barcelona Academy graduate, which is obviously a really good profile if you're looking for a Pep Guardiola signing. And since he's only been at Brighton for one season, I think Brighton would be happy to flip him at a really large profit, because that's what it would be. Man City would have to pay the big bucks. It looks like it's probably going to happen. I think this is a really good signing for Man City. I think it's a good sale for Brighton. I think everyone wins in this one. Good transfer. Amazing. Man United, Ibrahim Sangare. Now this one to me was really, really easy. I know people in the chat, I say in the chat, I mean in the comments, they're going to be like, surely Frankie de Jong is the one to go for Manchester United. Surely that's so obvious, but I don't know. I'm not convinced by that one. I know it's more sensational, but De Jong is not like a pure CDM, and that's what Man United need, a pure defensive midfielder. And De Jong just seems like one of those classic Man United transfers that keeps on happening, where a really expensive player will not, you know, be at that level that Manchester United hope they would be. I don't want to say flop, but there have been a few flops at United recently, and De Jong kind of feels like the kind of player who could turn out the same way. Sangare, I think he would be happy to move to the Premier League. Very happy indeed to move from PSV over to the Premier League, get a Premier League club. He's a good age at 24. He's very, very highly rated. And he's a player who I genuinely think would improve this Manchester United side. So I think it would be a really good signing for them. Newcastle United, Ismaila Sarr. Now, Newcastle, unlike the United Kingdom, need a right winger in charge. Moussa Diaby at Leverkusen would have been probably the ideal transfer, but I don't know that they can quite afford that. I don't think they can quite get to that valuation to comply with rules and stuff like that, which is fine. Sarr, I think, is a good alternative. He's a decent and experienced enough Premier League player. He's definitely Premier League level, and he would be coming from a relegated Watford side, so the deal could be potentially a little bit cheaper. And I think it would be a good stepping stone player for Newcastle as they transition to becoming a good side. But Sarr is also the kind of player who could actually turn out really good and be a player that's just a mainstay in that Newcastle team, you know, for years and years to come. So I think this could be a good one. Nottingham Forest, James Garner. Now, half of Nottingham's players last year were loan players, which is really not good when you've been promoted to the Premier League and half of your squad is returned from loan back to their own clubs. They have got an insanely big job to do in the transfer market this summer. And they do seem to be filling the gap slowly, in fairness, but one position they haven't replaced yet is James Garner's position in central midfield. Now, Garner has been on loan at Nottingham Forest for a year and a half now, actually, and last season in particular, he played 49 games in all competitions for Nottingham Forest, so really crucial player. United do need to raise some money for their own rebuild, so I think this makes sense. The perfect Garner replacement at Nottingham Forest is Garner. Southampton, I think, should go for Keane Lewis Potter. He is a 21-year-old forward who plays for Hull. He scored 12 goals for Hull last season despite his young age and won the Hull Player of the Season as well. The year before that he scored 13 goals in League One, and they're calling him the next Jared Bowen. Now that is a very big compliment indeed for a player. I think this one fits nicely for Southampton because they do need a new forward slash winger, I suppose, particularly with Broja leaving. They're going to need that another forward to come in there somehow. Armstrong didn't really work out last time. Maybe they'd try someone else. He's young as well, so again, it fits the kind of ideology at Southampton of developing young players into superstars, working as that kind of stepping stone club. The only problem with this one is the deal may cost as much as 30 million, which I'm not sure is quite within the budget of Southampton unless they were to sell someone like Ward-Prowse for an extortionate fee, which I know is something that is being talked about. Spurs, Alessandro Bastoni. Probably not going to happen. Maybe this one is a little bit unrealistic, but it is that dream signing for Spurs, isn't it? I think it could be the last piece of the jigsaw puzzle, finding that left centre-back at Spurs, because they've done a lot of good business over the last 6 months. They've brought in a lot of good players, and they already have some real high-quality, high-caliber players in there. Even outside of the likes of Keane and Son, they've now got Perisic in there, they've got Kulusevski's in there, they've got Romero in there at centre-back as well, who's really good. Bissouma they've just signed at centre-mid as well. But they need a left-sided centre-back. Maybe Sven Botman as well at Lille could be an option, but I know a lot of other clubs are in for him. He's probably going to go to Newcastle, to be honest. But let's see what happens. We just know that Spurs need a left-sided centre-back, and I think the dream version of that for Spurs would probably be Bastoni. West Ham, Armando Broja. Broja is kind of the player who, us FPL managers, we really know a lot about Broja. He's one of our favourites. West Ham do need a striker. That's really super easy. Antonio is still good enough, but I feel like we need to start beginning the process of refining that replacement for Antonio. You know, getting that backup who can also play some games, play a lot of games, maybe some games in other competitions, and transition towards being the main man in a year or so. Broja has proven he has that huge potential. He has proven he can play it at a decent level. And I think Chelsea may be okay to lose him at a certain price. You know, they're looking to do their own rebuild with the new owners. And West Ham are a London club, a club that is ambitious enough as well that would suit the needs of the player, of Broja. So all in all, I think this transfer would make sense for everyone. I think everyone will be very, very happy with this one. Wolves, I'm going to go for Matheus Nunes. So we need a central midfielder. We've got Neves, who looks like he's going to be leaving the club. We've got Moutinho, who I believe is going to be 36 years of age in the coming months. Dendoncker, I actually prefer him at centre-back, but I guess he's another central midfielder the Wolves have. I don't know. Morgan Gibbs-White, who is going to be returning from loan back to Wolves, is going to be sold, I believe. So that actually leaves Wolves pretty short in the central midfield position. So Nunes, who is 23 years old, he is a box-to-box midfielder. And let me tell you, he would be an insane signing for Wolves. He's a main starter for Sporting. He is a Portugal international. And maybe crucially, he's part of a two-man midfield at Sporting, or at least used to playing in a two-man midfield, which I think is really, really good. So he would transition into the two-man Wolves midfield really nicely. Plus, Wolves love a Portuguese league player, so that makes sense. It would be a great fit if Nunes was looking to become a Premier League player, maybe using Wolves as a stepping stone club potentially. I don't really know where Wolves' ambitions are at the moment. Not sure, but, you know, to play in the Premier League at a fairly high level, you know, Wolves are still one of the better teams in the Premier League. I think it could be a really good move. It would be an insane signing for Wolves. Wolves fans should be very happy if this one somehow manages to come off. And there we have it. That took a little while. 20 clubs, 20 potential transfers that could come into those clubs. What do you think of them? Have I got any completely wrong? Is there any recommendations for any particular clubs that you think, you know, if one of these clubs is your club, who do you need to sign? What is your dream signing within reason, of course, that is really going to improve what your team, you know, bring in what your team needs? Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please do leave a like. It doesn't take you long, and, you know, it really helps a brand new channel, so I'll really, really appreciate that, guys. And, of course, subscribe if you're new around here as well. That'd be awesome. But, yeah, that's pretty much it from me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later.